This presentation is about creating a revision for the summer food service program. Thank you for joining us this afternoon. The Louisiana Child Nutrition Program website allows authorized users to submit and approve applications, claims, and miscellaneous forms via the internet as their security rights permit. Once an application has been submitted or approved by the Louisiana Department of Education, the information is locked and no changes can be made. Let's discuss some common items that change during the summer feeding program year, how to access the CNP website, and the steps needed to make changes to the submitted approved applications. So the first thing we are going to discuss is when are summer food service program application revisions needed. They are needed to adjust the number of meals served at a given site for any approved meal service, which is also known as the ADP, to adjust the meal service times at a site, to change the days of operation, the program length to include addition and or deletion of days, for example, holidays and early closures. The start and end dates on this page should reflect the first day you serve meals under the summer food service program and the last day of meal service for the summer. When entering the site applications later on, all of those site start and end dates must fall within the start and end dates on this first page. Again, if your program dates change, it is very important for you to update these changes to ensure you can get reimbursed for the meals served. If extending your program, the end date must be updated prior to the end date that was originally approved. In other words, we cannot backdate summer food service program application dates. So the next time when an application might need to be revised is in add or deleting participating sites. So please be reminded that in order to add any non-school sites, a JOT form must be completed and submitted to the Louisiana Department of Education, in addition to a current permit to operate. The JOT form can be found on the CNP homepage. Oftentimes, the summer food service sponsor submits the incorrect document for the permit to operate. Let's look at the next two slides. So do you think this is the document that should be submitted? Or is it this document? The correct answer is B. A lot of times we often get this retail food notice of violations form submitted instead of the permit to operate. So just be reminded that if you want to add a new site, to this document here does not need to be submitted to the Department of Education. We only need the permit to operate. And if for some reason you accidentally submit the other one, we'll go ahead and contact you, and that way you can go ahead and submit the right one. Another reason why you might want to make a revision to your application if you make adjustments to your budget. Example, additional or less allocation for a given line item. So does a change to the facility application equal a change to the sponsor application? When in doubt, always amend the sponsor application and submit it along with the revised facility applications. We will discuss this in more detail later in the presentation. So now let's test your knowledge. So question 1, all amendments to sponsor applications, site facility applications, and/or summer food service program claims must be done on paper and then submitted through the CNP website. So do you think that is true or false? So just think about it for a few seconds, and then we'll go ahead and switch to the answer. Again, all amendments to the sponsor applications, site facility applications, and/or summer food service program claims must be done on paper and then submitted through the Child Nutrition Program website. Is that true or false? The answer is false. All amendments to the sponsor applications, site facility applications, and/or summer food service program claims must be done in the Child Nutrition Program website. So no paper is ever submitted. Everything is done on the Child Nutrition Program website. If you have any backup documentation, you will keep that at your office, but no paper documents are sent here to the Department of Education. The next question is, sponsors are responsible for notifying the state agency of changes to their program. The requested change is not approved until a status change occurs in the online application submission from submitted to approve. Is that true or false? I'll give you a few seconds to think about it. The answer is true. So sponsors are responsible for notifying the state agency of changes to their program. The requested change is not approved until a status change occurs in the online submission. And that changes when it changes from submitted to approved. So now let's talk about how to access the Child Nutrition Program website. So the first thing you're going to do is type in the web address, which is cnp.doe.louisiana.gov in the address bar. Then you're going to click the sign in button on the top right of the screen. Then click CNP Web. And then here you enter in your assigned login name and password, and then click log in. If you also participate in the National School Lunch and Breakfast Program or the Child and Adult Care Food Program, the same user ID and password will be used. This information will be sent to the user via email when an account is created and/or when the password is reset. An example of the email is shown on the next slide. So here you see an example of the email that you will receive with your user ID and password, which is here. Your login name is, in this example, it's dana.does.25, and then your password is computer generated, so it is listed here. It's recommended when you first log in is to copy and paste the password into the login field, because sometimes a 1 might actually look like an L, or a 0 might be an O. So now we will discuss the sponsor application. The sponsor application screen provides access to the sponsor's annual application for the summer feeding program for both new and renewing sponsors. This application is 5 pages in length, and some information contained in this application pre-populates and cannot be adjusted by the sponsoring organization. So now we will discuss the steps on how to revise your sponsor application for summer feeding. So the first step is to make changes to an approved sponsor application. You'll click on the purple Summer Feeding tab. Then you'll click on Applications. Then click on Sponsor Application, and then click Revise Application. Notice that the Revise App option only appears when the previously submitted application packet has been approved by LDOE. So now you'll click the Create Revision button. Create Revision provides an editable version of the sponsor application. In the top left of the screen, the unsubmitted application appears. Initial applications appear as revision 0 in the revision history. Click on the page or pages where changes need to be made. For example, if you are making changes to your staffing, you would click page 4. Or if you needed to make changes to your budget, you would select page 5. So now let's discuss the facility application. One facility application is to be submitted for approval per proposed feeding location. Each facility application contains 4 pages. Like page 1 of the sponsor application, some information pre-populates and cannot be adjusted by the sponsor user. The data entered into the facility applications regarding operating days, days of the week, and projected average daily attendance will drive the calculation by the system of projected revenue needed to complete the budget. So if you need to make changes to your facility application, you would select summer feeding, which is in the right-hand corner of your screen, and then you would select applications. So basically the same editing and submission process is followed when a sponsor needs to make changes to a previously approved facility application. The sponsor will click on the applications link on the left-hand side of the screen. Then you will click the facility application and then click Revise Application. The sponsor will then need to target the site for which a revision is needed, and under the Actions column, select Revise and then Go. So in this example, we are going to target site ZZZ site number 2, since that is the site that will need to be, changes will need to be take place. Most edits made to the facility application also cause changes to the sponsor application. If this occurs, the website will require a sponsor application revision to accompany any facility application revisions. Once the sponsor application revision has been initiated, check page 5, which lists the anticipated budget versus your reimbursement, to ensure that changes did not cause the budget to exceed the reimbursement. So after saving all your necessary changes, you will click on the Submit Applications button, which is to the left of your screen in the purple area. And then once those applications are submitted to the Department of Education, we will review them, and as soon as they're approved, you will get an email. But just remember, once those applications are submitted to the department, they no longer can be edited. Once the application is approved, then you can go back and create a revision if other changes need to be made. So here are some important notes about application amendments. An amendment will not be effective until it is approved by the state agency. The same is true of initial applications. The program is not approved to operate until the status has changed from submitted to approved. The expected level of reimbursement listed in the sponsor application is calculated from the anticipated information in the site application. Changing the length of operation, the ADP, and/or deleting sites or meal offerings will change the anticipated reimbursement. If the total number of operational days are increased or decreased for a given site staffing days should be adjusted accordingly. The same applies to the sponsor's staffing plan. If adjustments to a site cause the program to run longer, then sponsor staffing days will need to be adjusted. Please plan your program in advance to ensure that you are able to begin operations as scheduled. Now we will discuss some frequently asked questions and resources. So the state agency frequently gets calls from SFSP sponsors who are wanting to know the status of their application. So here is how you can check. It is listed in the revision history box. So in this screenshot, you will see the sponsor application for ZZZ sponsor, test sponsor, revision 0 has been approved. And revision 1 is unsubmitted. Once a sponsor submits revision 1 to the LDOE, the status of revision 1 will change to submitted for approval. And then the last status change will be approved. Please remember that when the facility application is approved, an email will be sent to the head of the organization and the authorized rep. It is important that you make sure the email addresses in the CNP database for these two individuals is current. So when a sponsor application revision is also warranted, the following revision changes to a facility application will require a revised sponsor application to be submitted along with the edited facility applications. Changes to the staffing plan that involve more or less allocation for staff, changes to the calendar, which is deletion or addition of days, changes to the average daily participation for one or more meal services, and addition or deletion of a meal service. And always remember, when in doubt, amend the sponsor application and submit it along with your revised facility application. And here is an example of the approval notice that you will be emailed once your facility application has been approved. And in this screenshot, you will see that these two sites, Bruley High and Port Allen Middle School, were approved effective start date of 4/1/2020. So that means that is when they are approved to start their operation for this particular site. And here are some tips for revising your budget information. You should add it one line at a time, saving in between. Click in the cell that you wish to update. Next, click on the X that displays to the right of the information reported. This will delete the data. Type in the numeric value that you wish to add using numbers only. Click Save at the bottom of the screen. If additional edits are needed, make them one by one as described above. Always check the final amount in the budget against the anticipated reimbursement to ensure that the budget is not greater than the reimbursement. So now we will save this time for if anyone has any questions, please submit them in the chat room. Okay, I'm not seeing any questions come through, so we'll go ahead and end the meeting here, and I wish everyone have a great afternoon, and thanks for participating.